Hey there, Heather, ho there. It's Jeff Cutter Diamond. Welcome you to another Degrassi Top 10 poll video. So, I was thinking about this for a while. I've done plenty of top 10s, but I decided to do a top 10 Degrassi shafted characters thing. Now, the interpretation of the word shafted has different meaning, but in this poll, especially for this video, shafted means characters who basically, they weren't hated, but their storylines and general opinions were just down the drain and all that. Basically, mostly the actors who got ruined by this with their character. So it's hard to describe in a sense what I mean by that, but the characters who got shafted, as in who actually deserved better in the Degrassi universe. So here we go. Now the first 5 are from 6 to 10. I did 2 polls from 1 to 5 and 6 to 10 based on a previous post of someone saying, well, who was the best shafted characters? I checkmarked like how many people said a certain character, and then the top 5 got to be, where those checkmarks got to be in. There were some people who got in via a walk-in vote or something. I don't know how to explain it. But anyhow, so here's the list. So the first poll, the 6 to 10 poll, got 151 votes. So at number 10 is Connor with 19 votes. So here's why Connor got shafted, in a sense. Connor was a decent person. In Season 8, he was introduced as Snake's godson and part of the gifted class. But then we soon learned that Connor has certain behaviors that are explained by Snake telling Claire it's Asperger's syndrome. And explains about autism and all that, and Connor's affinity for routine and all that stuff. So, of course, Claire wants Principal Shep to do something about it, but he expels Connor over his attacks on Allie. Okay, fair enough, but he says he expelled him for no good reason. So basically, Connor gets the shaft from Shep. Claire uses the video for Principal of the Year to get on Shep's nerves. It's like, how did Shep become Principal of the Year so fast? It was like a few months within his reign. And also, it's like, my thinking is that the school board was going to give it to Hatzalakos, but since she left for Regina, they had to give it to Shep. They could have had a revote. But anyway, Shep got it for some effed up reason. It was like weird seeing him try to get Principal of the Year. Of course, the students take issue with her thing over Connor. And thanks to the school board, Shep is forced into sensitivity training. Simpson becomes interim principal, and brings Connor back. And the school board insisted he comes back. Good job. But Connor's autism actually got shafted in a sense. I mean, yeah, we have that obsessiveness with the online girlfriend, the gamer girlfriend, and the stealing of underwear because he has some kind of fetish. But that doesn't completely represent autism in a sense, or Asperger's for that matter. By season 14, he was just a decent guy, and he and Jenna deserved much love and all that. But Connor got shafted in a sense because we want to learn more about this condition. I mean, autism is more prevalent nowadays in 2020 than it was like 20, 30 years ago. So when I grew up, of course, as you should know, I do suffer from Asperger's syndrome. Well, I'm 36 now, so yeah. Growing up wasn't easy because people didn't know about it. It was some kind of stigma. Some stuff I deal with every day. Anyhow, there is a video in my Degrassiisms called Connor and Me, a Study in Asperger's. I suggest you watch that. Anyway, number 9 with 22 votes was Wesley. I agree. Wesley was basically just put on the back burner for some dumb reason. So I think that Wesley was a decent character. He was a nerdy guy who was with Hannah and part of the Three Tenors club with Dave and Connor to make music videos. Spoiler alert, Dave is in the top 5. I won't tell you where he is, but anyway. So anyway, yeah, Wesley was just a nerdy guy that nobody wanted to be around. And he just didn't get much love. I mean, he got a few good episodes, but then poof, that was it. Number 8 with 24 votes was Shantae. Now, Shantae is laughed at by most of the Reddit community because of the fact she started in season 4 and she just couldn't graduate high school till like season 10 or 11. Mostly because of the whole Degrassi going with multiple seasons for one school year and the telenovela thing, doing like 40 episodes a year and all that. It's like, what the hell? So anyway, Shantae is most known for being Dave's cousin, and then also Shantae was the one who tried to push Snake into lighting up after season 10's Vegas night, saying that Snake is punishing the school for just one minor indiscretion, even though there was a lot of indiscretions, and they didn't know how much pressure Snake was under her, thanks to Karen, I mean Audra Torres. So anyhow, Shantae did the post-it notes on Snake's car and got Snake to lighten up a little bit, but says that you keep behaving, things will come back one by one by one. So anyhow, Shantae deserved better. Number 7 on the list with 26 votes is Kendra. Of course, Kendra is known for being the most famous Degrassi black hole character, in my mind. But the fact of the matter is that, Kendra was set up in season 2 to be Toby's love interest because Toby needed a love interest. All his other friends had love interests. So basically, Toby was portrayed as stalking Kendra in a sack with eyes, literally looking at Kendra while she's in class. Toby liked Kendra because, they liked Japanese manga, and all of a sudden it was like love at first sight. But then Toby becomes obsessed with smothering Kendra. In a sense, Toby's worried that Kendra is going to break off with him because no other girl wants to be with him. So Toby has his obsessiveness. I also say that Toby may be a little nervous about romance because, after all, his parents split. And Toby just doesn't want to lose somebody and have to go through the repercussions of loss. Anyway, Kendra was seen prominently in season 2 and season 3 in a bit, but then basically by the time season 4 happened, like, she wasn't appearing on Degrassi, and she and Toby split up in a sense. But Kendra got blackholed because it's like she was a great character. She was an Asian character, and it would be great for diversity and all that. There weren't really any Asian characters on Degrassi Next Gen that could work. Yeah, Chester Black. No way, Jose. They didn't really get that until they got sane and all that. So anyway, yeah, Kendra was great, especially in that one episode tackling Islamophobia. She says that I'm Chinese, my parents are white, we have a good bond and all that. Well, Kendra was adopted from China, and she's Spinner's brother. Spinner threatened to hurt Toby if he breaks Kendra's heart. But Toby doesn't want to break Kendra's heart, especially with Spinner behind him. Of course, the rumor was that Kendra's parent, the actress who played Kendra, her parents were upset over the fact that she was going to be in a pregnancy storyline with Toby, or a sex storyline, and pulled her out. But actually, no. That could be partially true, but it wasn't. The actress said that it wasn't true. It was found out that one of the executives was not happy with Kendra, and CTV kind of became racist. Anyway, at number 6 on the list, with 60 votes in the poll from 6 to 10, is Hazel. So Hazel was basically a shadow sometimes in Paige's clique and all that. The other girl in Paige's clique is in the top 5. Spoiler alert. But anyhow, well, Terry, spoiler alert. Anyway, Hazel, didn't have any major storylines until the season 2 episode about Islamophobia. And she became the first minor character at Next Gen to have a main storyline. So logically, Hazel decides to try to, get towards Fariza, and a girl from Iraq, and make some bad statements about Iraq. And there's International Day where the Great Nines actually end up dressing up in their country of culture, like Paige in her Ukrainian dress, which is a little low cut to make the sense. Snake in a Swedish outfit. I think the real actor Stefan Brogan is of Swedish descent, but I don't know why Snake would wear a Swedish thing. I think his mom was Swedish. Regardless of all that, well, we also saw Radish in a kilt, him being Scottish. And like, okay, Radish in a kilt, that's funny. But anyhow, International Day gets ruined because of something towards Fariza, and Hazel is fingered as the culprit because of her fashion police stuff and that statement about Jamaica bombing Iraq. Fortunately, though, Hazel is exonerated, but Raj says, be careful what you say. Hazel admits to Fariza about her being from Somalia and all that, and actually having some hate towards her. Fariza said, gee, you learned something from them. And then Hazel decides to tell everyone the truth about Somalia and answer some questions from Terry. And it works out. The people give her much credence. Hazel ends up in a relationship with Jimmy after the shooting, and it was good. But then Hazel thought that Jimmy had goo goo eyes on Ellie, so she decides to break it up with him. Kind of stupid, don't you think? And Hazel just got shafted. All right, so that was 10-6. Now 1-5 had 148 votes. All right, so here's. No, I forgot to check for comments. Yeah. Okay, that's fine. All right, so anyway, and number 5 of 7 votes in the 1-5 poll that had 148 votes was Spike. Well, we're talking about the Spike from Next Gen, not from Degrassi High, Junior High. I think Spike got a lot of prevalence in the old series, but in the NG universe, she really got shafted in a sense. Spike had to deal with Emma's causes and effects, if you will. Emma overreacting to stuff, and having a good relationship. She found a guy, which was Snake, who actually took good care of Emma in the Degrassi High days. But anyway, and Spike had to deal with the fact that Emma was upset over her being with Snake. I mean, her teacher. I mean, like, who wouldn't be upset by that? Regardless, Spike marries Snake. Of course, they have a pregnancy scare. Well, Spike gets pregnant. She wants to abort the baby. She triggers Emma by saying, I don't want a second mistake. And then all of a sudden, they both agreed to keep the baby for Emma's safety. And, Spike has to deal with Emma putting her nose where it doesn't belong sometimes, especially in season 3's preview. I mean, Spike's about to give birth to Jack, and Emma wants to find out about her real father. But Spike doesn't give much answers and all that. Like Spike had the right idea, but in the end, it just made Emma more and more angry. Thankfully, Snake calms Emma down in a sense. But, Spike had a lot of problems. She had to deal with Snake in season 5 cheating on her with Hatzalakos. Well, emotionally cheating on her with Hatzalakos. So she becomes very heartbroken and all that. Snake does win her back, and then, it's supposed to be a happy family. But then Emma's eating disorder ruins a dynamic. Spike leaves the house in season 7 after Snake didn't come back to school after being cleared of wrongdoing in the Darcy situation. Thought that, Snake was just milking it for all it's worth. People said that, Spike didn't know what to believe anymore because of Snake getting in trouble so many times. But Emma stood by Snake. And I think Spike was upset. I think Emma, in a sense, was upset that Spike would abandon Snake. And she might be jealous that Emma is stepping in to be with Snake. But anyway, Spike got shafted a little bit, don't you think? In the NG universe. Okay, number 4 was there was a tie for 3rd with 19 votes. Let me think. Well, you know what? Because of the fact that the Next Gen universe from like seasons 1 to 9 takes precedence over 10 to 14, I'm going to go with Liberty at number 4. All right, so Liberty's at number 4 for being shafted. Mostly because, she had some good character building episodes and all that. And her obsessiveness with JT. It's like, why was she obsessed with a guy like JT? Anyway, Liberty had a few episodes that she was the lead. One of them was when she becomes manager of the girls' floor hockey team as they face the boys' basketball team for the right to have Jeremiah Motors as a sponsor. I don't think that Jeremiah Motors could sponsor high school teams and all that. Isn't that illegal? But anyway, she becomes manager. She tries to do her style, like manager style, like Napoleon, which pisses off the girls and all that, and they decide to leave her high and dry. She learns a lesson in humility. She has a relationship with Towers, which doesn't really get much mentioned, and then trying to go after Chris, but Emma breaks it up, and then Manny and Liberty break off from Emma. Yeah, Liberty had the storyline. She had the crush on JT, but her parents basically were not willing to let her be with JT, thinking that she's a distraction. He's a distraction to her. And then, of course, Liberty gets pregnant in season 5, and she does JT and all that. But her own pregnancy storyline, she was not the main person. It was just JT reacting to it. Liberty got shafted in that way, and I feel like Liberty really got shafted. She had the what was it, the season 5 finale? I can't remember, that she had the PTSD, but her parents basically thought that she was lying and all that and didn't help her out. I mean, that's stupid how they refused to help Liberty out. I think they were mad Liberty got pregnant in the first place. And then in season 6, she was jealous of JT hooking up with Mia and all that. And Liberty soon learns through Toby that JT was going to find Liberty and tell her that JT would rather be with Liberty. But, of course, JT dies, and Liberty's upset, and people accuse her of being a robot and having no emotion, but she finally shows some emotion in the episode after JT's death. And, the whole college storyline about her being in a sorority, but basically only because she was black. Yeah, I mean, I don't know if the color of her skin was because she was shafted, but, she should have done better and all that. So number 3, by proxy, will be Dave. I mean, I know Jamil French died last year and all that. But, I mean, Dave was shafted. Dave was a decent guy. He was embarrassed that his dad, who was a cop, had to patrol Degrassi in the wake of the whole Vegas Nights fiasco. He was trying to be good friends with Connor and Wesley, but failed at times. He had a girlfriend, Jacinda, who was taller than him and who was hurt in an accident. I thought Jacinda was black, but she was white. I was like, who cares? But whatever. Anyway, so Dave, yeah, I think he was a better character. Somebody actually mentioned that they did Dave so dirty and I will die on that hill. Informer Garlic says. He had such good character development, and I would have loved to see more storylines from him and see try to figure out his life after high school, like we saw Allie and Claire do. He should have graduated with them. I thought Dave did graduate with them. Guess not. But yeah, Dave and Allie were a couple, and it seemed to be a decent relationship. I thought that it would be perfect for Allie to be with Dave. But they did Dave dirty in that relationship, so, terrible. Number 2 with 44 votes. The guy who I voted for, obviously I have to vote to see the results of my own poll, was Toby. To me, Toby seems to be the most shafted character. I mean, Toby in season 1 was actually the breakout star alongside Ashley. Like, Toby and Ashley's home life. Toby's dad and Ashley's mom get married, and now Ashley and Toby are siblings. Step-siblings at that. But it was weird seeing Toby, getting in Ashley's way and vice versa. Toby, with JT, relationship with JT, great friendship, season 1, saw their home life, and basically they were breakout stars. Better than season 1 Emma, in my mind. But then by season 2, Toby started falling off the map for some effed up reason. So anyway, Toby ends up being shafted because of many things. But anyway, Toby had a few good storylines. His relationship with Kendra, like I mentioned, and of course his eating disorder and all that. And that portrayed that males can have eating disorders just as much as females can and all that. They did it okay. I mean, the camera work was good, seeing that, what Toby has to deal with. Being malnourished and all that. But yeah, Toby trying to impress Kendra, trying to make sure that he's not remembered as a geek. Of course, he's remembered for kind of the wrong reasons and all that. And gets put on the back burner and all that. By season 3, he's non-existent. He tries to make friends with Jimmy by helping him change his grades to go to the concert, but they get caught by Radich, who puts him in Saturday detention. Toby, unfortunately, is the only one in Saturday detention of the 5 of them not to have some kind of relationship. Ellie and Sean start a relationship after this, and Hazel and Jimmy get closer together, but Toby gets shafted. That's terrible. By season 4, Toby is left behind by JT, who wants to go towards Danny, probably as a way to get to Liberty, because, Danny and Liberty are brother and sister. And then all of a sudden, Toby Rick's new friend and Rick and all that. I think Rick does tell Toby everything that happened, but Toby's willing to put it in the past because, he needs a friend and all of that. And, they're both geeks. They both like Dungeons and Dragons. They do the kissing bet. Toby easily wins, but Toby decides to give Darcy $5 to kiss Rick because because he didn't want that victory that way. But anyway, yeah, it got Toby shafted, and Toby was, there when Rick and Sean fought for the gun and all that. Toby tried to stop Rick, but he failed miserably. And, Toby had PTSD. We only had that one episode after that, Back in Black. Toby explains how JT and Danny are teasing over him being Rick's only friend, as it seemed. But Manny tore JT a new one, and they both go to the visitation where Toby is not so sure, but having to deal with Rick's mom. But, in fact, I think that, JT helped Toby get along with things. And, JT and Toby were best friends again. But Toby didn't really get any in season 5, did he? I don't think so. Season 6, he's the guy who told JT to go after Liberty. What's the worst that can happen? Not realizing that, JT would get stabbed. And I think Toby basically was kicking himself for that. So Toby has a relationship with Liberty, but that's basically because of grief and possible guilt. But he has to end it. And then Toby, basically season 7, he's non-existent. Most people say that once Craig was introduced in season 2, it was more popular than Toby. Toby slid down the list and all that. He was just shafted. I know season 7, he wasn't sure about Lakers moving in because of what Lakers did to JT, but then he soon realized maybe there'll be friends that you haven't met. But by far, number 1 on this list with 59 votes is Terry. Well, I can't argue with that. Terry was plus sized and maybe they shafted her because of her weight and all that. Degrassi basically released her after season 3. The writers did. I was like, what the fuck? I know Christina Schmidt wanted to be a model in real life and all that. But the fact of the matter is that, it was just awkward. Poor Christina Schmidt, she deserved better. Anyway, so Terry was one of the shadows behind Paige, alongside Hazel. Terry had insecurities about her look because she was plus size and all that. And, people assured her she was fine, but she had her own massive insecurities, calling herself a fat cow. Her words, not mine. She has a drinking thing. She gets drunk before a dance and all that for her insecurities. She seemed very insecure. A lot of people thought that she would be with Sean. That would be pretty good. But in fact, Terry actually was a hero in season 2 because she calmed She calmed Craig down because, Craig had a freak out over thinking he saw his dead father at the luau dance. But Terry tells Craig that, she lost her mother in a car crash as well, but she had to be told about it at a birthday party. So she understands Craig's pain. And we thought Terry and Craig would get together. And nope, Craig ends up being with Manny and Ashley, and Terry ends up being with Rick. Terry likes being with Rick and thinks that she could fit in with Paige's clique. Unfortunately, Paige and Spinner think it's a bad idea. Everyone thinks it's a bad idea, especially when Rick shows his jealous side. Rick does push Terry outside of school. Terry breaks it off, and it was perfect. And then they end up in a trust exercise together, and they both decide to get it over with, and then they find out they're in love with each other again. Everyone is upset that Terry goes with Rick and all that. And, of course, they're like, why would Terry be with Rick? Well, mostly because when they were taking a road trip in Paige's mom's van, Paige was going to bring Spinner, and Jimmy and Hazel were together, and Terry's like, okay, I'm invited, but who do I go with? I'll have nobody to go with. You're with your best friend. That's good enough. But then she ends up with Rick, and it's like, what the hell? So they decide to keep her eye on Rick. Of course, Rick walks off after being sassed by Paige, and Terry runs up after Rick. And, Rick puts her head on the rock and gives her a coma. She seems to come out of it okay, in a sense. And she does get a few episodes by the end of season 3. But we don't know her fate. But then season 4 happens. They don't say anything about Terry. And then comes Uh, what is that episode? The third episode. Mercy Street. That's it. In Mercy Street, we find out that Rick comes back to Degrassi, and we still don't know what happened to Terry and all that. The only thing we know about Terry's season 4 fate was that she was in private school, but that was through a deleted scene that stupidly was not in the finished product, in the first run product even. It would have made so much sense. The students deserve to, we as fans deserve to know her fate. And Terry wasn't really much. Well, season 4, everyone wants to beat up Rick because of what he does to Terry. Fair enough, I understand. I think Terry deserved justice. But the fact of the matter is, at least Rick didn't kill her because he would have been dead. It would have been dead meat. But anyhow, they all fought for Terry. They all took Eva's Orange Ribbon campaign out of context. And people would still wonder, would Terry have been okay with this whole justice thing? I don't know. I think she wouldn't be. But here's the thing, and this is the fact I always say this, and you can take it to the bank, I hope, is that Christina Schmidt went to Waterloo Oxford High School when she wasn't on the Degrassi set. And guess who else attended Waterloo Oxford High School in Southern Ontario? This guy. So yeah, so I was in the same high school, almost at the same time as, I think at the same time as her. I think she's 1 or 2 years behind me in school. But yeah, I graduated in 2003. So yeah, Christina Schmidt was in high school the same time as I was. But then again, I mean, she probably wasn't spending much time at Waterloo Oxford because people would probably ask her about things. Although that the show actually debuted when I was in grade 11, so yeah, I spent the first 2 years of Degrassi was when I was in high school, and then the third year was when I had my gap year before going to college. So yeah, kind of creepy, don't you think? I don't think she'll know my name, of course, but that's okay. Anyway, thanks for watching and have yourself a good day.